back to San Diego. You're listening to the Yellow Ribbon Team. If you're serving on a ship or a base anywhere in the world, thank you for your service to the country. And if you're listening to us throughout Southern California, thank you for joining us today on San Diego 1700, the talk of San Diego. We're at the Auto Club Speedway in Southern California as NASCAR comes to California for the weekend. Navy Race Team is in action right now. With us in the pits is Doug Cummings. Now, Doug, you've ran cars here on the Auto Club Speedway with Kelly Busey Racing. Of course, you're with Don Swanson Racing right now. But let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the Auto Club Speedway track. What's it like to actually drive a car out on this track? Is it like driving on 15 or 8, or is it a totally different experience?
Oh, it's a total different experience. You got 34 drivers or 40 drivers that know what they're doing. That's the first thing. And you can trust each other. Out there on the I-5, you can't trust anybody. So it's a lot different. But you get out there, you can run around pretty fast.
Now, where we're standing right now, where these two tents are, this is literally where they do the inspections on the cars to approve them before they go out to race. First of all, why do they do inspections on a car?
Every car's got to be equally the same. There's specifications that they make every year that the cars has to be the right template, the right size, the right height. It has to have everything exactly the same. So every driver has the equal opportunity to compete. So no one has a tactical advantage over someone else. That's why it's so competitive when we get on these big tracks.
Now let's talk a little bit about the racing this weekend. Friday was qualifying. Saturday is the Nationwide Series. On Sunday is the Sprint Cup Series. So talk about the differences between the two races themselves. First of all, let's start with the Nationwide Series on Saturday, which is what the Navy Racing Team races in for the Camping World 300.
Right. What this race is today is this is kind of a junior level way to get into racing. These are cars that have been set up that are not as competitive as the NASCAR Cup cars or the Sprint Cup cars. The reason is they detune them a little bit. Instead of running 8,900 RPM chips, they run like 8,500 RPM. Car still does 175 on a lap going around here, but it doesn't do 201 in the first turn. It gets maybe to about 200, you know. So it's a little bit different in speed, a little bit different setup. These are not the cars of the future. These are the old style Monte Carlos and the different types of Fords and Chevys that are out there right now. So this is a good entry level way for people to get into driving and then hopefully get to the big show.
Now, speaking of the car of the future and the big show, then that's what Sunday's race is all about with the Sprint Cup Series. Talk about the car of the future itself, which is actually the car they're driving now. Carl Edwards has done so great this year in the Ford. Talking with Jeff Gordon yesterday, they haven't quite figured it out yet in the Chevrolets. But talk about now the Sprint Cup Series, which is the next evolution.
Well, the next evolution is that these new cars wanted to be safer. It was the first thing they wanted to do. They wanted to make it safer. They wanted it to be competitive, and they wanted everybody to be on an equal ground. And so this is a good way for everybody to start on the same ground and go out there. The Fusion, as you said, the Ford Fusion's doing very well. Carl Edwards is having a remarkable year. And if you look at Chevrolet right now, not doing as well as the SS's, the Impalas, I think is what they are. So a little bit different for him, for Jeff Gordon this year, but you know, Jeff's done a great job. You know, in the next 10 races, he's going to be there. So a little bit different car, a lot safer, a lot faster, not as used to the handling. The drivers are having a little bit difficulty, but this is their learning year. This is their learning curve.
Now let's talk about also the drivers for these. The Nationwide Series has a lot of drivers that are learning how to go to the next level, but at the same time you see a lot of drivers that drive on both days. This weekend, for example, here in California, Jimmy Johnson is driving Saturday in the Nationwide Series and on Sunday. Kevin Harvick also does it. So does Dale Earnhardt Jr. Why do some of the drivers drive in both races and some only drive in one? Is it just because money? I mean, if you're going to be here this weekend, you might as well make an extra check because you're going to be here anyway?
Well, you know, a lot of these guys like to get on the track and see how it feels. And so they get a little bit of, let's say, that out of the way. They get on the track, they get a feel for the weather, they get a feel for the track and the other drivers. And it's a chance to make a little extra money, but it's also a chance for them to get out and get a good feeling for the track so that when the big day comes tomorrow, the paycheck's in their pocket rather than they get a tactical advantage over everybody else. So if they want to come out and do it, I've seen drivers do truck races, then they'll do this race, race today, you know, and then they'll do the Cup cars tomorrow. And I mean, that's a long weekend, so makes it tough.
Well, and Kevin Harvick is a good example of that. He does all 3 races when they're out.
Yeah, he sure does.
There you go. We're in the pits at NASCAR at the Auto Club Speedway of California. When we come back, Jeff Gordon will be here along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Carl Edwards. We're with Doug Cummings in the pits. You're listening to the Yellow Ribbon Team all across the world at yellowribbonteam.com and throughout Southern California on San Diego 1700. I'm Kevin Fulton, back with Jeff Gordon right after this.